Another thing that drives me absolutely nuts is a driver that just did a load of poultry and didn't get a washout before going to his next load. So he just did a load of poultry, let's say with a Costco or a Walmart. He's got, blood and wood chip all over the inside of the trailer. And he's going to do another load of food grade and didn't get a washout and expects, his next pickup location to load him. Hey, transportation community, this is Luis Lopez, aka the Freight Guru. In episode 28, we're going to be talking about everything you need to know about reefer hauling in 2021. What exactly is reefer hauling? And why I think if you're in transportation in 2021, I think you should focus on reefer hauling. First thing we want to talk about, what exactly is reefer hauling? Well, reefer hauling is actually a slang for refrigerated trucking. This is a slang term in over-the-road trucking industry for refrigerated trucking. So where you use a semi-truck and connect that semi-truck to a refrigerated truck and trailer. Why I think refrigerated trucking is a very niche market in 2021 is because refrigerated trucking separates you from dry van trucking and will help you increase revenue even in a bearish market, okay? There are different types of over-the-road trucking. You have dry van, flatbed, and refrigerated trucking. If I were to get into over-the-road trucking in 2021, I would focus on getting into a niche market, something that separates you from what everybody else is doing. The barrier of entry into trucking in today's market, there's three very specific, difficult things that make trucking difficult. Number one is recruiting drivers. Number two is getting insurance. And number three is keeping drivers on the road, right? So the fourth thing that I think is going to separate you if the market would ever to turn is the type of equipment you use. And I think refrigerated trucking separates you from dry van because refrigerated trucking requires higher insurance premiums, higher cargo insurance premiums, and requires more know-how. And I want to provide you all that specific know-how today so that if you are interested in doing reefer cargo in the future, you don't have to make the same mistakes I made when I started getting into reefer cargo and avoid those mistakes now. Great thing about reefer cargo is they are higher paying loads. Compared to dry loads, reefer cargo is going to pay more. Main reason why is because you're going to have to spend more also. You're going to have to pay for a reefer trailer. So those reefer trailers are going to have to be maintained. You're going to have to spend fuel in order to keep that reefer cargo at the temperature that you're looking to move that reefer cargo. You're going to have to make sure that you do quarterly and yearly maintenance on your reefer cargo trailer. And you're also going to have to make sure that you either purchase temperature monitoring equipment or you have specific customers that put temperature monitoring equipment inside of their product when you're loading. So it's really, really important that you are either working with dispatchers and hiring dispatchers that have worked with reefer cargo before, or you listen to this podcast today and you take notes exactly, precisely on what we're talking about, because you can easily run into major cargo claims if you do not know how to manage and move reefer cargo properly, okay? Reefer cargo pays more, but it also requires expertise, and that expertise is going to lead to higher revenue. Another great thing about reefer cargo compared to dry cargo is that unlike dry cargo, where most warehouses are open only from 8 to 5 or maybe 8 to 6, most perishable and cold storage facilities are open 24 hours. So you don't have to worry about running into an 8 to 5 perishable warehouse. You can actually pick up and deliver 24 hours. The bad news is that most spot market customers that you're going to go on DAT, for those of you that have never listened to our podcast before, I have done podcasts before on how to make $10,000 a week on the spot market using DAT. If you reach out to most brokers on DAT and you book loads on the spot market for reefer cargo, most brokers will not pay waiting time for produce if you're picking up in a reefer trailer. Meaning that in produce markets, they do not pay wait time after 2 hours. Unlike dry cargo, they will pay wait time, normally $45 or $55 per hour after 2 hours. They will pay you after 2 hours a wait time for the driver. In produce, they do not pay that. So 24-hour open facilities, but you can see your driver wait 5, 6, 7 hours to be loaded at a 24-hour facility. Now, another thing, really important, and this is where expertise, know-how comes in. When you get a rate confirmation from the broker or shipper that you're working with, make sure you read these rate confirmations to see if they do cover wait time after a certain amount of hours. And if they cover layovers, what they cover that layover amount for. For example, normally after 6 hours in produce or in a cold storage facility, they will pay you $250 to lay over for overnight for that truck to wait to be loaded the next day. Reality is, guys, that $250 does not cover the driver time and does not cover fuel for that truck. Trucks sitting, laying over for $250 is really not a good idea. And that loss of ELD time for the driver is not a positive thing. Dry loads normally pays $150. And that layover is going to lead to your driver losing valuable ELD time for the week. So you want to make sure that you're communicating with your shipper or broker and eliminate that time and make sure you're communicating to see when your driver is going to get loaded. The good thing about produce and cold storage facilities is that they are open 24 hours, so you have a better chance of being loaded. But you have to monitor your driver and see where that loading facility or delivery facility is in getting your driver worked in and either loaded or offloaded. But refrigerated cargo open 24/7, huge plus. So what are the cons of reefer cargo? Because it's not all good, right? Well, it's super complex to run and handle refrigerated cargo. It requires a driver to understand and read bill of ladings. I have seen it so many times where I receive a call from a driver and he's looking at a bill of lading and it says, look, and he's looking at the bill of lading and it does not state the actual temperature that the cargo needs to be at. And most of the time, the driver says, well, the loading facility told me to put it at this temperature. And I always tell the driver, have the loading facility write it an initial and get a name of that person that told you to put it at that temperature. Because I'm going to tell you something about refrigerated insurance that maybe isn't talked about, and it's on the fine print of your refrigerated insurance cargo policy. If a driver is negligent and doesn't have the right temperature accidentally put on, or by accident puts the improper temperature on the refrigerated trailer, the insurance isn't going to cover it. So if you have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in cargo loss, the shipper or broker is going to file a lawsuit against you and is going to win that cargo claim in court 100% of the time. So it's really important that you're communicating and training your drivers when you're onboarding your drivers on how to properly manage reefer cargo. They cannot assume that some random person in the warehouse is giving them the proper information. If you're managing ice cream, if you're managing asparagus, if you're managing a chicken, you want to make sure that you have it at the right temperature. That could make or break your load. If you file a claim and the insurance doesn't cover it, you will have a lawsuit against your DOT number, which will lead to having expenses and legal fees. At that point, your revenue, it's not worth anything, right? And you're not going to get paid for that load. So increasing revenue and getting higher paying loads is great when you collect money. But if you have drivers that don't have a system of procedure and don't know how to properly understand temperature readings and know how to use their reefer equipment, you're not going to succeed. So it's really, really important to procure drivers that understand how to use the proper temperature in their reefer trailer, right? So that's one of the complexities. The other thing that I see all the time with trucking companies is drivers showing up to loading facilities without pre-cooling. Can't show up to a facility without pre-cooling. Another thing that drives me absolutely nuts is a driver that just did a load of poultry and didn't get a washout before going to his next load. So he just did a load of poultry, let's say with a Costco or a Walmart. He's got, blood and wood chip all over the inside of the trailer. And he's going to do another load of food grade and didn't get a washout and expects, his next pickup location to load him. He's going to get denied loading. He's going to miss his appointment time. And he's going to get bounced on the load. And the broker or shipper is going to cancel the load and put the load back on the spot market and maybe potentially get put on do not use with that broker or shipper. All because of not communicating and not understanding system of procedures. So, two big things I love talking to drivers about. Pre-cool, A. B, make sure you do your washouts, right? And a big thing is when you're done offloading, before you even start driving, know where you're going to be able to do a washout. A lot of times, if you offload at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon and you have your next pickup at 7, 8 o'clock at night, most of these washout facilities that you're going to go to shut down at 5 o'clock. So if you don't know where and what time they close up, if you're going to just drive aimlessly without knowing what time that washout facility closes up, well, you're not going to succeed in getting to your pickup time with a clean trailer, and you're only going to end up canceling that load and potentially ruining your company reputation with that broker that you're trying to build a relationship with on the spot market. So really, really important to understand the complexity of reefer cargo. And while, yeah, it does pay better, it does require experience and it does require certain best practices in order to establish good relationships with your brokers and shippers. Cleanliness is one of the biggest things. You want to make sure that you have your trailer cleaned every time and that you are pre-cooled for the next load. So call your dispatcher. Hey, dispatcher, do you know what is my pre-cool settings for this load? Do I need a washout? Is this a food grade load, right? And if it is, I know I need a couple hours from my deadhead time in order to get this done because my washout location is 30 miles from my pickup location. That is properly routed and that is efficient. So being efficient and doing these things are only going to set you up for success and are going to allow you to run within that ELD time to maximize that time. The other thing that will be required when you are maintaining a reefer trailer is extra vehicle maintenance. You're adding a new layer of vehicle maintenance, the complexity to your rig when you add a refrigeration unit. Make sure your cooling unit is operating in good condition. The worst thing that could happen in the middle of your load is that your trailer, your reefer trailer turns off. So you need to have a plan of action if your trailer turns off. Now, these reefer trailers are able to turn off and stay at temperature for a certain amount of hours. But you need to be able to contact your dispatcher and you need to be able to get to a Carrier or a Thermo King registered facility and diagnose that specific problem and potentially be prepared to get a subunit and cross-dock that freight into another trailer within 8, 12, 14, 16 hours, right? Because if you don't do that within the time frame, you can get into spoilage problems and that whole entire trailer load can be spoiled and now you have a cargo claim. Now, there are certain cargo insurance policies that do cover spoilage and do cover that type of cargo loss when there's reefer malfunction. And a lot of brokers do require cargo insurance for reefer malfunction. So I highly recommend adding that to your cargo insurance policy, reefer malfunction insurance, because that will cover you in a bind where you're in a remote location and you just can't find somebody to help you when there's a real malfunction and now you're in a spoilage issue. And at the end of the day, you have $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in product and you have spoilage. What do you do in that situation? Another thing that I see all the time, and I see this every day, is you get to an offloading facility and for whatever reason, they refuse 6, 7, 8, 9 boxes, a pallet, and they just refuse it. Now, you didn't load that product. It's tomatoes that look a little green, asparagus that looks a little brown. And now you have to call your shipper or broker. You have to notate that on the bill of lading. I'm going to put emphasis on the word notate because if you don't properly notate that, you could get billed for that shortage, right? Now you as a carrier are going to say, wait a minute. I didn't load that. Yeah, I understand that. But if you don't notate that on the bill of lading, the shipper is going to say that they have to bill you back because they have no way to account for that. So it's all about documentation. Your driver is your ears, your eyes, your communication in front of that offloading facility. So you want to make sure that they document, take a couple pictures, send you a couple pictures explaining why they are refusing these 7 boxes of tomatoes, explaining why they're green, right? Maybe they were load shifted or simply the product was just not good that was loaded, whatever the reason. But you want to make sure that you immediately email that to your shipper or broker so that they can in writing say, hey, we want you to dispose of this, or we want you to go ahead and give it away. You can give it away to anybody you want, for free. You can give it to charity. Just give us a charity receipt, no problem. So that you can get a waiver of liability for those 6, 7 boxes. Sometimes it's even a pallet, 300-400 pounds, but that's going to delay you from getting to your next pickup location. So you want to be efficient. You want to be as quick as possible because you went ahead and thought it was gonna be 2-3 hours to get offloaded. You've already booked a new load 150, 200 miles from that delivery location. You need to get going. You weren't expecting to have a pallet refused. Now you need to offload that and give it away or find a dumpster, a waste facility as close as possible to that delivery location. Get that off your truck as quickly as possible to get to the next pickup location. You might have to communicate with your new customer, your next load, and say, hey, by the way, can you give me an hour and a half because I have this situation? And guess what? What about if you have to do a washout before that, right? These are all the things that happen in day-to-day transportation that make it dynamic and make it not that easy. I love when people say, transportation is just point A to point B. It's super easy. Anybody can do it. Yeah, if it was all A to B and there was no variables like the ones I'm mentioning, right? That's why dry van is a little bit easier. You still have load shift. You still have issues. You still have damages, but you don't have these issues of spoilage and of cargo that ends up getting refused because of just complete refusal because the product just doesn't want to be received, right? So, yes, reefer cargo pays more, and I do think it's a niche market that will long term in a bearish market set you apart from other truckers. But you do need to have the right personnel to manage it. You do need to understand and have a system of procedures that's going to allow you to have protocols for when things don't go your way. And they're not going to go your way every day. You're going to have every day you're going to have an obstacle. To get through those obstacles, you need to have people in place to make sure that can respond to situations like the ones I've mentioned today. And that spoilage alert needs to be documented on the bill of lading. It's really important that when you have any type of refusal, that bill of lading is documented and you're getting pictures. Pictures and a bill of lading signed and with a name documented with a date is going to be the difference between you getting a claim, or better yet, the best ones are when it's $200, $300, $400, $500 claims and the broker or shipper just deducts it from your rate confirmation. So those aren't going to be claims that are going to go against your insurance. They're just going to be directly debited against your rate confirmation. So yeah, you thought you were going to bill $5,000 for that load, but you ended up only billing $4,300 because you got a $700 claim because your driver decided not to do the proper protocols when that 8 pallets or 8 boxes of tomatoes were spoiled, and he decided not to document it on the bill of lading and just decided to throw it in the trash without letting you know and taking pictures. So you gotta have your drivers understand that they're your eyes and ears to your dispatchers, and your dispatchers got to understand that documenting it, emailing it, and getting it in writing before they make the next step of just disposing of something is crucial. I understand that they're under pressure to get to the next pickup location, and I understand that they have another customer waiting for that truck, but it's super critical to give the customer at the delivery location time to talk to their customer to figure out what they're going to do with that spoilage. The good news about most of these issues is that you could get insurance to cover almost all of these additional caveats. The one that you can't cover is a driver negligence, which requires driver training and hiring the right driver to make sure that he or she does not put the improper temperature on the trailer, right? So that's where you either have a bill of lading that says the proper trailer, the proper temperature, or the person that is loading is writing the temperature on the bill of lading. It's being documented and signed, and then your driver is utilizing that bill of lading to properly put the temperature on the trailer, right? You don't assume verbally just by word of mouth that that's the proper temperature on the trailer. A lot of times when you receive a rate confirmation, it'll say as per bill of lading, but then you look at the bill of lading and it doesn't have the temperature, and then it ends up being a he said, she said. I never allow our drivers to put a temperature on a reefer until I get it in writing from the loading facility, right? It's really, really important to do that because you don't want to run into an issue where you put the wrong temperature and now it gets to the final destination and there's a claim. So now I want to talk about daily best practices. And I'm going to give you just 4 simple daily best practices that I think not only will help your dispatchers, but also will help your drivers. And by doing these, I think you can build better company culture, and I think will help you scale your business if you're interested in becoming and scaling a reefer trucking business, right? So first thing is always pre-cool your trailers. Communicate with your dispatcher if you're a driver. If you're a dispatcher, communicate with your shipper or broker and make sure that you don't dispatch a load without knowing the proper temperature that load's supposed to be in, right? Second thing is identify temperature requirements. Find out ahead of time what the temperature requirements are, okay? And any special requirements the load has. Does it require load bars? Does it require, for the pallets to be counted? Do we have to count boxes? Anything that is specific to the load so that the dispatcher can communicate that with the driver and vice versa, right? Other thing is that make sure that the driver, once he opens the doors at the loading and the offloading and loading facility, that you load quickly and you offload quickly. Don't allow for doors to stay open for multiple hours, because what happens with that is that the temperature of the reefer is going to dramatically change. You don't want that, right? You've pre-cooled the trailer. You've done the right thing on pre-cooling the trailer. But once you open the doors of the trailer, it's going to take you a few hours to get the trailer back to that temperature. Monitor your shipments closely. You can use a wide variety of third-party monitoring systems. I personally like Keep Trucking. I really, really like what they have going on with third-party monitoring systems. It's pretty cheap solutions. Also, GPS Insight has great ones as well. Samsara has third-party monitoring units that you can slap on inside of the trailer and will provide you the current status of the inside of the trailer. These are 4 really simple ways to limit liability, build relationships with your shipper and brokers, and scale your business. Guys, it's all about finding niche markets in a bearish and bullish market, growing your business, and finding ways to build protocols that can grow your business in this awesome trucking market. Thanks again, guys. Hope you can subscribe. Please keep on following us. I hope we can help you grow your business. Take care, guys.